They say technology makes our lives easier for work, to learn, to travel, to communicate. But there are things that machines cannot yet do. Things as important as engaging, putting themselves in your shoes, having intuition, or making intelligent decisions. In an increasingly technological world, we need professionals who provide intelligent solutions based on their know-how. Because there are things that technology cannot yet do for you. The human tech.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today, the 18th of December 2024. And probably, and I guess so, is our last webinar for this year. I would like to thank you all for your assistance previously to all our webinars and your recent messages thanking us for keeping you up to date so far. And we really made our effort today, Pedro, Rafael, and myself, because we think it's a very important webinar for those of you who still are on time to apply for Golden Visa. Even though there is a lot of noise about veto, the Senate against the Congress tomorrow will make a decision on what is going to happen, not only with this law, but in total with the whole law, not about only Golden Visa. But one way or the other, we consider is you're still on time to apply for Golden Visa. Obviously, as we said before, it will be always faster through stocks and shares and obviously investments. But if some of you have already approached us saying that you already have the property in place or you are really completing the property in place, you could still apply for Golden Visa. The Golden Visa is very good whether you decide to be resident or non-tax resident in Spain. You will have the freedom of movement throughout Europe. You could work and you could retire, and your family members, dependent, will benefit from it. So I'm going to pass it over to Pedro, international lawyer, who he's been talking about Golden Visa from many, many years ago. And apparently it seems, Pedro, that this will be the end of our topic. Later on, Rafael is going to tell us how to manage our investments to comply with Golden Visa. He's an independent financial advisor. He works in the Mapfre building, but he is allowed to advise on all kind of investments throughout the whole world. I think he mentioned about 80,000. I cannot remember from his last webinar, he said. But he will explain to you which one are okay for the Golden Visa. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Pedro, and then we'll jump on to Rafael and get back to questions and answers. Please start sending us your questions now. This webinar will take us 1 hour of our time, and we will put the email here just in case you need to talk privately as an emergency, because obviously in Christmas it's going to be hard to progress things. Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, thank you, Ignacio. Hola, Rafael. Hello, everyone. Well, let's try to just to briefly summarize what's going on in the latest weeks on the Golden Visa. But let's start from the beginning. Let's start from when it was approved in 2013, and during those years has been more or less approved an average of Golden Visa of about 1,500. It's just some statistics that says 1,200 and some other more. But let's think that is around 1,300, for example. So it's been approved from the beginning until now around 15,000, at least 15,000 Golden Visa. Most of them, majority of them, is 90% would say, would be included as properties. Properties, which is a minimum investment on all the investments that are on the Golden Visa. It's a 500,000 euros, as everyone, I'm sure that you know. And there are some other investments with the minimum requirement is 1 million euros, or investments or bank deposits, or companies, or maybe Spanish debt, which is over or at least 2 million euros. Well, those years it's been given some criteria. There are some years that was not able to include some of the issues on the investment, and it's been more flexible in the latest years in order to be open, in order to acquire more investment and more situations that were not ruled with the golden visa. Beginning this year, it was announced that this golden visa, especially for the properties, in order to be eliminated, I think it was in March, April, is going to be eliminated, wants to be eliminated by the government, because it looks like it's affecting young people to have access to the properties, which the statistics says or answers no to this question. Because last year it was around 650,000 transactions on property. And if around 1,500, let's say 1,300 is included, a property to be included in the application for the golden visa, and 90% of those ones are for properties. So 90% of those applications are included properties. About those applications, 90% normally are properties that are over 500,000 euros, because you need to understand also as well that you could buy 5 apartments of 100,000 euros and adding all together as a minimum investment 500,000 euros, or you could buy one property over 500,000 euros and also could be included. So the majority of the properties are over 500,000 euros, one property. So that do not really affect the young people to have access to the property. So the issue really is a political issue, it's a political announcement, it's a political argument, it's not a market argument at all. So on those terms, one of the political parties pushed in order to join the government, in order to join them, in order to be elected and govern Spain, to eliminate this specific law. At the end, it was approved, and then some weeks ago, and now went to the Senate. In Spain, we have a Congress of Diputados, which is a Congress, like I think probably of many parliaments in the world, and then it goes to the Senate, which is a more or less like regionally representation. And in the Senate, there is the opposite political party which dominates that specific parliament and rejected totally. Now goes back to the Congress, and it looks like tomorrow is going to be said something, or is approved, or maybe it's not approved, because one of the political parties has said, unless, because it also was included so many little things, but one of them, it was like the express eviction on a criminal proceeding. Unless this is eliminated, they will not approve in favor to eliminate golden visa. So I have to say that I understand it will be eliminated, but I don't have everything. I wouldn't put, we say in Spanish, wouldn't put my hand on the table. So it looks like maybe there are going to be some problems in order to be approved. But if it happens, if it's approved finally, and then it will be published some days after, at the end we understand that the timing in order to be at the end duly eliminated with some period, some legal period of time that needs to be spent, it will be at the beginning of April. It looks like it's going to be at the beginning of April, maybe at the end of March, but we understand it will be at the beginning of April. Okay, and well, having said that, those ones who already acquired with the golden visa before will keep going with that. We'll keep going with the investment. We'll keep going with the authorization. We'll have the right to renew the golden visa if you maintain the investment. Okay, that's important. And those ones who want or are right now in the process of applying for golden visa, which in our law firm we are at this time hurrying up with everyone in order to hurry up with investment and make the application as soon as possible. Now we know that will be at the end of March, beginning of April. So it looks like that we have right now a deadline, if it's approved tomorrow, to be eliminated. And well, those who are in the process of that, if they apply, let's say, an extreme situation, extreme example, extreme scenario, the latest day, once you submit it, you will have a right, obviously, if you fulfill the requirements of the Golden Visa, to acquire the Golden Visa. And if you maintain investment, you will have a right to renew, as it has been approved in that way. So at this time, it's been an increased situation where a lot of people is investing, and those one also as well that already invested, because let's think that everyone who invested after October 2013 could include the investment into the application. And when I mean that, I'm talking about in many occasions, I would say the properties. If you bought a property, let's say in 2015 or 2020, and you would like to include it, and that will be obviously accepted. It's been accepted. We've done it many, many times. Those ones who already did it. And important issue when you apply for the Golden Visa. Imagine that you are a couple, a marriage, and the investment that you made is it is over 500,000 euros, but it's less than €1 million. Depending on your regime, on your marriage rules and economic situation, if it's separate assets, or if it is a community rule that whatever belongs to any one of you during the marriage belongs to both of you, really. Depending on that, obviously, it's not the same that you invest 100,000 euros and it's a separate asset, which means that each one of you, if both of you have bought the property and the property is in both names, it means that both of you have invested, each one of you, 400,000 euros. So no one will be entitled to apply for the Golden Visa. And that if it's a community asset, which means that if it's a community asset, even though it's in both names or one name, you will be entitled to apply, one of you as a principal application, and the other one as a family member. Sometimes what we do in this case is when it's a separate asset, the property is in the name of one of you. Obviously, this needs to have an agreement between marriage, and obviously the one who the property is in the name of that person will apply as a principal application, and any family member, spouse, or children also will be able to be included. Okay, financial means also something that, as Ignacio said, you are allowed to work and obviously live in Spain. You can live 1 day, you can live 365 days. You don't have the obligation to be resident in Spain. You have the authorization to be resident in Spain as an investor. And if you maintain the investment, you will renew it. And that will be obviously a key point. Is 500,000 euros of property, no mortgage, or if you apply for a mortgage, is at the end you need to show that you invest at least 500,000 euros. What happens with those ones who are right now in the process of buying the property, because the property is not still finished and has not been finished, so you cannot complete and pay the rest of the money. So it was approved, obviously at the beginning of the law, process where you put the money in a bank, you apply to the bank to get a certification that money is to cover the rest of the money to pay to the seller, in this case to the developer, and you need to include also taxes which is value add tax and stamp tax. So you include that you froze the money you blocked into with a certification that you give an order to the bank to whenever the property is finished, it will be paid to the seller. And also can be done that the period of time is lower, but obviously you will be able to renew that one. That right now is being asked by many people at this time as well. Rapidly investment on funds, as Rafael will explain. Obviously you need to open a bank account, you need to transfer the money. It will be certified that you make an investment fund in the territory of Spain, and with that document we rapidly do it. So financial investment, and obviously we always speak about the healthcare system. You can do it by the public system. You will get a certification from your home country, and there is a convention between Spain and your home country. And normally what we manage is with a health insurance, with a private insurance policy. And the latest thing I would say is that the two public documents that normally are applied is criminal records. Criminal records, you need to get them. Well, you need to get the criminal records in the country or countries where you have lived in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, you've been living in one country, we need a criminal record of that country. You have been living in two countries, and that will be criminal records in those two countries in the last 5 years. And criminal records could cover, I mean, depending on the rules on that country, any records in the past. And that's a public document that needs to be, all the documents needs to be translated into Spanish, and the public documents are criminal records and the marriage certificate, because obviously we need to link the principal applicant plus the spouse, or birth certificate, principal applicant and children. We need those documents, that public document, marriage certificate, birth certificate, everything needs to be legalized with the apostille of the Hague Convention, and also sworn translation. Okay. And we have all the details, everything in our website, in pellicerheredia.com. But I think right now, if, well, we are still having 3 months. If you are in the process of buying the property at this time, you will have time to do it. Absolutely. And if obviously to do it rapidly, it will be an investment fund. Rapidly, you transfer the money, and Rafael will explain how much time will take, you know, to have the certification on investment. And so, it is maintained. The golden visa will be maintained as much as you maintain the investment in the future. I think, Ignacio, that's briefly and summarized to explain the golden visa again and the history and what is the update right now at this time. And obviously to invite to those ones who have a grounds to apply or are at this time are applying, obviously to hurry up, do things by the book. And because if you do it by the book and you do it correctly, obviously it will be a straightforward process and you will be approved and you will get a golden visa. I think, Ignacio, to right now, obviously we will be happy to answer any question anyone wants. And well, let's listen to Rafael. I'm sure that he's got a lot of info in order for the investment on funds.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. I'm going to pass over to Rafael, but in the meanwhile, I'm going to ask you to run through the questions that we're having. So after Rafael just explains to how quickly he could help for investment from an investment side, because we've got on one side, Pedro, we have the property, obviously ready to complete, or probably already in your name, and obviously per individual or in one name with family members who are dependent. On the other side, we have the investments funds. Okay, Rafael, could you please tell us a little bit more about what you do, how could you help, and how these people could probably contact you to know a bit more about investing in Spain. Over to you, Rafa.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Okay, for investment golden visa through mutual funds, this is quite easy to do and quite a fast process. Okay, we'll just need to open an investment account, have the money transfer from your home country or whatever bank you have it in, and then we'll do a process to choose the investment fund we want to, or the investment funds, the different ones we want to use, because there's a time that you are gonna be on those funds, even though we can always change between funds. But well, the first funds we choose are thought to meet your risk profile, your interests, and the period of times we're gonna be using them, right? Like the 3 first years and then all the renewals and everything. So that process is like with any financial advisor you might have worked with at your home country, and well, we sit and we discuss your interests, your risk profile, and we choose a fund. After that, we subscribe the fund, we buy it, and then we release the certificates that we hand to the client and over to you most of the time, so you can begin the process and add the documentation. Usually we take about 8 to 10 working days to have everything done, right? Once the client sent us the documents, his documentation, which is basically the foreign identification number, his ID documentation, passport or ID card, and a bank account in which we relate our investment account to that bank account. And that's it. With that, I can open in 24 hours the account and then just receive the money, make the investment, release the certificate. It's usually taking us about 8 to 10 working days for the whole process.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Okay. So, Rafael, just a few questions I would like to add to it. I guess in general terms, the best thing will be you providing the information, the possibilities that comply with the Spanish law, okay, to start with. And can you tell us a little bit more? Are they able to disclose a little bit some priorities to you, and you probably make the suggestions and they could discuss it with their financial advisor or doing a meeting together just to see that they're happy with that?
Yeah, for
sure. If you could explain how it works, how you work.
Last case we had with a customer that came from your desk. We discussed his priorities. We navigate through different funds that meet his requirements, and we finally found 2 or 3 that could be ideal for him, right? And once we got to that point, he went back to his financial advisor in UK and discussed these 3-4 funds with him, and he got his confirmation that they were good assets for him, and that they mixed well with what he has invested at home or at his home country and what he's going to be investing here, right? We can replicate the strategy that you already have there with your financial advisor. We can complement that strategy, or we can add a different topic to your investment portfolio, whatever you like.
Right. And another question, Rafael, if they do invest with one of the funds that comply with Golden Visa, is it possible for you to move the investment throughout this process? So that means, are you able to advise saying, okay, this product is working very well and this one is not so good, so you could transfer from one to the other, keeping the same amount of money, I mean, the million euros. Yeah, is that possible?
That's possible, fully possible. What we have to certificate, well, at the beginning is just the initial investment, and on the renewals is that the annual medium investment has kept over 1 million, right? So once we have some returns on those investments, you could change things and not making that medium investment throughout the year being under 1 million euros, right? And for Rafael, sure we can change from one fund to another without any.
I know. Okay, I know you cannot guarantee, obviously, that's impossible, what is going to be in the market in the future. But what kind of return in the past you have managed to get? If you could say only in the past, in the future we don't know. But
we don't know.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Past returns don't warranty future returns, but it's a good starting point, right? What we're mostly using for this type of client, it's a risk profile multi-asset fund, right? We have like 4 risk profiles of this multi-asset fund, so you get access to any kind of market or investment inside the fund with a very diversified strategy and everything, right? And we have this prudent capital, moderate capital, advanced risk, and stock market, right? And on those 4 profiles, we are averaging. This is a 10-year average of compound interest, right? And we're on the lower risk profile. We're averaging 195%, which is
low risk.
Just keep very low risk and
very conservative
and a conservative return, and mostly gets it to go through inflation and not much more, right? Next profile, which is a moderate fund, and it has a stocks between a 30 and 50%, we managed to average on 10 years a 4.92%, which is now something more
than inflation, I would say.
more than inflation. Okay, on the dynamic profile, we managed to make a 7.82%, and on the stock markets, global stock market fund, we managed to make 10.02%.
Right.
Over those periods of
and you're
time.
talking about all the investment funds that comply with Golden Visa, correct?
Yeah, this is always, I will always be talking about funds that comply with that. We can also obviously access any fund in the world that is from a prominent management company, whatever we manage. We work with funds from UK, from USA, mostly Belgium, Luxembourg, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But since we can sell more than 24,000 funds, but only about 700 to 900 would comply with these Golden Visa requirements, right? So we'll have to. We already have our universe, our investment universe, constrained to those funds, and it's just to make between those 700 to 900 funds, make the choices that fit the client's interests.
So basically, Rafael, what you're saying, it really depends on the profile of the client, and it can be discussed with you and their financial advisor back at home. Correct? That's what you're saying.
Yes, I really appreciate when they get back to their advisor once they have talked to me, because it's another point of view, and it's a trusted person for the customer that is initiating relations with us, and this is a confidence business, and I really appreciate when I get that support from an external advisor that already has the confidence on the client, and they know for a long time, and I really appreciate that, and I think it gives a peace of mind to the both for us and for the customer, for the client.
Peace of mind. And Rafael, I understand as well that because as Pedro stated, this obviously for those who have already invested in the investment funds, okay, they will carry on renewing, because the good thing of this possible law that eliminates Golden Visa states clearly that all the acquired rights are going to be guaranteed. So everybody's going to be able to renew. So Rafael, if we are able to renew the Golden Visa, obviously you will review the portfolio. You could review already an existing portfolio of somebody else as well, correct?
Yeah.
And eventually, once they go over 5 years, Pedro and Rafael, they will no longer need to keep this investment in the Spanish portfolio. They could always do different type of business eventually. I guess you're able to advise as well on different international funds, correct? Is that what you just said?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, our base customer or client in Spain is advised over the whole universe of funds, and wouldn't be having a lot of funds that are addressed in Spain. They might have 1, 2, or 3, but over the whole universe, investment universe we manage, usually you're going to have 40 to 50% of funds that are from United States management companies, 10 to 20% from UK managing companies, and then some European managing companies. And with that, the typical portfolio we made for our Spanish customers is full of funds from all over the world. Not just limited to this, but we can manage to work well with these 700 funds once we sit with the client and establish his needs, his requirements, and his risk profile. Right.
Okay, Rafael, I'm sure we're getting a lot of questions here, and I wonder whether you could please do 2 things: run through the questions that they're having, and as well share with the audience your email, just in case they want private interaction with you in the future for questions. But what is certain today is that, Rafael, you could confirm that receiving the funds in Spain in a day, you said 8 working days, correct? To
Oh,
issue the
yeah.
certificate.
I would say 8 to 10 working days, not receiving the money, receiving the initial documentation from first contact. If you're ready to do the solicitation of the golden visa through this investment case, we have in 8 to 10 working days since first contact. We receive documentation, we open the account, that's 24 hours mostly, 2 to 3 days to receive the money depending on the country of origin, 1 day to buy the funds, and couple of days for the settlement and issuing the certificate. Yeah.
And all the investment that you mentioned that comply with Spanish golden visa, there are a variety of them. I mean, I know you are
Yeah.
working for MAPFRE building, but you
Yeah.
don't sell MAPFRE. You could sell
No.
everything, or you could
I
interact
sell,
as a
yeah,
mediator, everything,
yeah,
correct?
we sell everything, yeah. I do for this particular case use some of the MAFRE funds because we got to know them very well. We know exactly what's inside of them. We can ask for the full portfolio that is inside of the fund at any day, evaluate it for every day, and we can show exactly what's inside the fund, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that many people likes because they know 50, 60, 70% of what's inside the fund are things that they already know. You might
Mm-hmm.
find United States stocks funds, you might find European funds, you might find fixed income funds that are well known, like from PIMCO or from M&G, and you know, managing companies that are well known for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying, you have a lot of information within MAPFRE company, correct?
Yeah,
So
with
you've got very
yes,
interactive
yes,
information,
and
which
then
helps a bit
yeah,
more.
there's something with this restriction to be on these funds, and with all the managing companies having sent their funds to Luxembourg address to be able to sell them all over Europe, then there's not that many funds left with Spanish address, and they are mostly managed by the banks. So you mostly from these 700, there are a lot of funds that are the same fund, or they aim to be the same, but from one bank or from the other. There's the same Spanish stocks fund or European stocks fund, the same from BBVA, Banco Santander, Banco Sabadell, Mafre, and you know. But I use this Mafre a lot because I know them for long. They have a very good track record. We have access to all the information, and it's easier to make changes between them and everything. But
Do they try, Rafael, do they try to be conservative or not necessarily? MAPFRE, they have different profiles.
well, Mafre, we have different profiles for this, but Mafre has always had his experience in investing comes from being an insurance company. So they have always been an investing company for their own assets, right? And they have been doing this for almost 100 years, right? And as an insurance company, you always give a conservative approach to your
Approach, yeah.
to your investments. Yeah, even though you might be on the dynamic profile or even in the pure stock market profile, Mafre always gives a little of conservative and money keeping policy to its funds, right? They are rather on not losing a dollar than earning two. They might get happy earning two and not risking one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
So
earning
they're
one
quite
and not
conservative.
risking two. Yeah.
And
They
can you
give
tell
a
us a little bit
little
more
conservative approach.
can you tell us a little bit more about the cost, or do you have an idea in general cost, or
Well,
you don't know?
yeah,
You need to
all this,
identify
no, no,
further.
all these mutual funds, they all have their managing fees inside the fund. That means that when we say this fund is averaging 5% a year, it's averaging a 5% a year after the costs, right?
After the cost.
Yeah. So this way we can compare between different funds, and what we are comparing is already taking into account the cost of either fund, right?
So it will be net
And
for the client, less
yeah,
taxes, correct?
that's
Okay.
it. And well, they're averaging about between 1.20 to 2% of total cost a year.
the company. That's what you're talking about. The
Yeah,
company,
the managing company, the owner of the fund, that's what's charging
normally
all the
charging clients.
participants of the funds, right? But
Right.
once you get your profit or your numbers of yielding of the fund, they are always going to be after costs.
Right.
So the costs are
So the
always
client will
included in
get
this.
the client will get the gross figure in only with regards to taxes. So the expenses have been already paid to the investor.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
the investment company.
Yeah,
correct?
to the investment company. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Could you please put your email and try
Oh,
to run
sure.
through questions? I'm going to pass over to Pedro, who's getting a lot of questions, and I'm sure he wants to answer at least some of them. Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, let's just start with the first one, as I can see. It says, how much balance do I need to verify in my bank account for property golden visa? Well, at the end, unless you invest in a property of a minimum investment 500,000 euros, but if you are buying a property of a new property which is not finished, then you need to include all the rest of the payment plus the value tax plus the stamp tax. To leave it in the bank account, processed by the bank, and make a certification on all the irrevocable order to pay to the seller once the property is finished with the architect finished certification, with the license of occupation, with many documents that is needed whenever it's finished. But I understand the question is in that path. Best guess, when will golden visa end? In my opinion, would be at the beginning of April, but maybe it's late. Maybe it's in May. I mean, it could happen. I mean, Ignacio also thinks it's probably really going to be a little bit late, more late than April. It's something that will not be before, let's say, the end of March. Will be all after that for sure. Okay. For anyone already with a golden visa, it is grandfathered in, or do they have to switch to one of the other visas, like non-lucrative visa, for example? No. If you already got the golden visa and you maintain the investment, that's important, maintain the investment, that specific investment, or you change the investment into a different kind of investment. Before doing that, I have to say that be well advised, be informed about what to do and how to do it, because obviously the law is clear, everything is kept for those ones who already got it, and they will have a right to renew it according to the rules that was approved. But I don't want anyone to maybe the criteria or some interpretations, I don't know, may change. I wouldn't think about that, but obviously, if someone wants to change an investment fund in property or vice versa from property and sell the property and maybe invest in funds, well, in order to renew and maintain investment, I understand that will be able to get a renewal on that, because at this time it is like that, and you should be keeping that. But obviously, I encourage you to be advised on these terms. And so you will be able to maintain, I mean, the golden visa if you maintain the investment. If there is a chance the property-based golden visa could continue or return with changes, such as anyone seeking such a golden visa must live in the property. I don't think it's. I mean, if it's approved, will be approved as it is, so will be eliminated. And if there are some changes, then we'll have to go again to the Senate. So this time I think it's going to happen something tomorrow, or will be approved or will not be approved.
So you think, Pedro, it's only two options we have tomorrow?
I think so. This is what I've been reading because all these Congress and Senate rules about going back and forwards and then approve it or not, and the Congress is like Congress meetings, it's called Pleno de la Mesa Congreso. As much as I know, obviously these kind of rules I'm not familiar with that, but as much as I can read and check about that, it looks like it's going to be done tomorrow. Okay. And obviously we are entering in Christmas, so maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe the delay that has some rules in order to postpone it after Christmas. Well, this may happen. Okay. Well, a golden visa is a visa that you may stay 1 day, you may stay 180, 365 days. The tax rules are different from immigration rules. Tax rules, if you are tax resident or you are not tax resident, you are tax resident in general, as a general criteria. If you live in Spain more, well, 183 days or more. Okay. And then you need to obviously check about what if you are tax resident in two countries, in your home country and also Spain, because you fulfill the requirements to be resident in Spain and maybe in your home country. Well, there are some criteria in order to avoid this conflict, in order to, sometimes, in many occasions, the convention between Spain and some other countries is, do you have a property in Spain or you have a property, valuable property in your home country? Do not have to be ownership, could be rented. Available important issue is that it is available and not rented. Not rented that you are a tenant. Not a landlord is like you maybe are a tenant in your home country or also a tenant in Spain. But this availability, if you have a property available to live, that's the key point. And if you have a property available to live in one country, perfect, you will be tax resident in that country. You have property available in two countries, then we need to go to a criteria which is very subjective. It's called Centro de Vitales Intereses, which is like a vital interest on your life, an economic center of your life. Financially, family, I mean, all your center of your life and economic and financially and family, where it is, where are you connected on these terms? And that will be your connection will be on that. Obviously, before taking any step about that, you should be duly advised and informed about these situations. There are, for example, about tax residency. What is a day in Spain? What it counts a day in Spain when you land into Spain or you take off Spain to a different airport in the world? Well, some inspectors, they understand that if you stay in Spain, even though you come at night, or maybe you leave in the first time in the morning, that day will count as a day resident in Spain. There are some other criteria which I understand that should be in that terms is if you sleep that day in Spain, then you will be resident. That day will count as a resident in Spain. Well, there are some, let's say, arguments defending one and the other criteria. So as well, do not, if you're going to cross to be in the limit at 182, for example, be aware and be informed about the loops, about the situation that may incur you in order to be tax resident. And if you get an inspection, you get a tax inspection, you may enter in a situation where you cannot argue or you don't have a power to argue about it. Okay, is the government reject?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Pedro, Rafael, do you want to clarify anything from your side? Because you're getting questions as well. Do you want to clarify something to the audience as well from your side?
I was just answering some things here, and from my side, I see these questions I'm already asking about the fees and everything, and we don't charge anything over the fees that already the funds already charge the customers. We have distribution agreements with all these companies, so they already pay MAFRE for putting their funds in their portfolios and in their investment universe. Those are big party agreements, and so there's no hidden costs or anything for the customers. I was also mentioning that we also work under what's called independent advisory with explicit fees. In this case, we have an explicit fee for advisory for the whole year, like 1%. It depends on the money you bring to this management. This way, we will work with the funds, the class of the funds that have the minimum fee, right? That are only accessible for institutional investors, right? And then the client will pay a not hidden but a viewable fee. Like if you bring us 500,000 to 1 million, it will be 0.90% a year what you pay, and you pay it every 3 months. with your invoice and everything, you know.
But that's part of the total cost. They don't need to pay any extra, or
They won't need to pay any extra. Well, they will have the costs inside the
the
funds,
cost.
but
Yeah, they
maybe
will.
a
Yeah,
fund that it usually charges 1.5% would be a class that is only charging like 0.30 or 0.40%. You know, these are the funds that the managing companies have for institutional investors. So, but this, I was acquiring, I was saying in the chat that this doesn't make much sense in the case of Golden Visa application because we already have a very constrained universe of funds, and the advising is like much easier. We don't have to consider. We are to begin with. We are working with 700 funds, not 25,000. You know,
Mm.
I consider that this explicit fee model is for a bigger scope of for the investment advisory, right? What I wouldn't feel comfortable charging for an advice that is not contemplating the whole investment universe.
The
You
whole
know,
universe. I
we're
see.
very much we
Right.
have the work very much done because we are just choosing from 700 funds.
Right. So it's an easy task or easier task for you,
Yeah,
and therefore you charge less to the
yeah.
client for the service because it involves
Yeah,
less
I wouldn't charge
less. Yeah.
an explicit service because this is not as complicated, right?
Right. Right.
We will
Understood.
be giving the full advising service for sure, and we are right after our clients and their needs. But this explicit fees model is more aimed to a whole investment advisory, right? And not just
Right.
for a part that is specifically bought to have the visa and comply with these requirements.
Right. However, you could always disclose that information. You will disclose this information to the client when they approach you.
For
Say, that's
sure.
what I need. That's what I would like to do. How much are your
For
costs?
sure.
And what kind of service I get for it. When
For
can
sure.
I cancel the service? Which I understand they could always cancel the service, but
Yes.
but the problem it will really affect the golden visa, obviously, because once they need to renew it, they need to keep the investment. Otherwise, they will not be able to renew the golden visa until they are. Nonetheless, they could always start with a visa and then change it to a different visa. Because in this webinar, we haven't spoken about the normal visa, the non-lucrative visa, the work visa, student visa, etc., etc. So we're just trying to concentrate for those of you who might comply with these requirements, and therefore that's basically the aim of the webinar. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Pedro. Pedro, could you please carry on
Questions.
with answering questions about the specific.
Let me clarify to some more queries has been said about these 5 years criminal records. Obviously, in general, I always say 5 years criminal records. But with everyone probably knows about the normal visa that entering some time ago, very, very close. I think almost 1 year and a half or 2 years almost. It was included or amended these criminal records, not just to be 5 years, but it will be to be changed into 2 years with like a autonomous and responsible declaration about the last 5 years. There is no records. That's correct. I always say 5 years criminal records with a period of time, but to be accurate is 2, but always needs to be included the 5 years anyway. And by the way, having said that, I mean, I will take it, but there are in Unidad de Grandes Empresas, which is the immigration office that approves the golden visa. I'm sure that it still keeps the 5 years time that are included as a requirement as a criminal record, for sure. Anyway, but I don't know whoever made that question, but thank you for clarifying that, and apologize for not being specifically accurate on that. I always say in general 5 years, but obviously I have to say that I have not had a situation where someone was living in a country that in the second country over 2 years has some criminal issues. Obviously, something to check, to revise, and obviously to defend in that case. Following question by I'm Cantagamer. Okay. Oh well, about Portugal, like we are not able to say anything. Obviously, in Spain, whenever you make application, once you do it, could take a few days, from 10 to 15, 20, maybe even before. I mean, depending on the queue. But if all the documents are straightforward, are clear with the Hague Convention apostille, with the translation, everything is correct, maybe it's really fast. And you can do it from Spain once you are physically in Spain, and we do it electronically with our computer. With our computer in our law firm or any law firm, we made the application electronically if you are physically in Spain. And the application and the resolution will give you authorization for 3 years to be resident in Spain. Okay, thank you, Pedro. Do you include sworn translations in your services? Obviously, a sworn translation of documents is something that we manage with a sworn translator, official sworn translators, and they give us a budget, and obviously is part of the cost of the golden visa application. But obviously, we inform there are many companies, there are many translators, and they are very rapid to do it. They really are very used on these kind of documents. They do it rapidly.
It might be Pedro. I mean, I know some people might use their own official translator or the one that the Spanish consulate provides, but we are very familiar with it.
There's a good question is made by Tristan. It says, what if I bought a property of 250,000 euros and then I want to qualify golden visa by depositing another 250,000 euros? The answer is no. 500,000 euros minimum investment on property, and on minimum investment 1 million euros. Okay, sorry about this answer, but it cannot be done that way. It's minimum requirement for investing on property is 500,000 euros. And then another question by, I think it's George. Thank you for that question. I think it's good, the question about if you invest 1 million euros in a fund, in an investment fund, for some reason the investment fund, after, let's say, some time, the value of the fund is reduced lower than 1 million euros, let's say 900,000 euros or whatever. That needs to be, again, whatever is left up to 1 million euros needs to be paid or invested in the fund. The answer is no. I mean, you prove that you invested 1 million euros, whether the value of investment is lower or is higher, it doesn't matter. It happens also the same with properties. If you invest in a property of 500,000 euros and then for some reason the value of the property is reduced by market value, that does not affect your visa. Visa is
Pedro, how soon will we know tomorrow the results of the session? Do you think probably after lunch? Probably we might know something. Probably.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I do not see politics working in the afternoon, so I believe so.
Okay, well, Christian, we'll get back. Well, obviously, it will be published tomorrow. Whether we have very good news, which means that the veto from the Senate did work and the golden visa doesn't progress and doesn't get eliminated. But if they still carry on and push it further, which I think it could happen, then obviously I believe so far we have 2 months, I believe. I mean, everything is uncertain and there is no guarantee of anything, but I stipulate that they will have 2 months to answer the veto and then 3 months to publish. Well, they will publish the law and then it will be 3 months. So yeah, probably best case scenario obviously is elimination in 5 months. I'm talking from the approval, and but probably we might be thinking about being very lucky tomorrow and obviously the law doesn't move any further until probably a different episode. So we'll see. It's a bit thrilling here, Pedro. We're going to be quite excited tomorrow about news. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Pedro, any other thing? Yeah.
I think there's another question, but there's some of them, but we are not going to be on time. But there's one question. When I mentioned about while the property is being finished, because you cannot complete and you leave the money in the bank account, frozen, blocked, in order to certified with an order to buy the property whenever it's finished. Obviously, when the property is completed and paid, obviously you need to add and complete all the information about the investment into the immigration office. Obviously, you need to do that. You know? It's something that, as a temporary visa, you get it, but whenever it's complete, obviously you need to. It's like reconfirmed that obviously you did the investment. You need to show obviously the deed. When you sign the deed in a notary office, in a public notary office, and obviously you need to show that again the investment was accordingly made as it was said in the private contract, and accordingly was said according to the investment said, and the money that you blocked froze into the bank account in order to be paid to the seller.
Okay.
Okay.
Rafael, is there anything else you need to add here to all these comments? Obviously, they could always contact you direct and do a video conference with you. But will you say, is there anything missing that you should tell them for this specific target, which is the Golden Visa?
Well, I think that everything has been said, but just as a reminder, this is an easy process, quite fast, and we can surely accommodate the investment so it fits client's needs and his already existing investments.
Okay. Pedro, would you like to add anything else or any answer to any question that you think is pending? Obviously, we did publish the emails and we could take it further, a video conference if it's specific, obviously, hopefully before Saturday, okay, because Christmas is almost there and we really need to get cracking on at least trying to put paperwork together. We might be lucky tomorrow. I have good news for you. Okay, and we will publish in our website. If we have good news, we will automatically, I know Juanfran will publish it tomorrow or as soon as we have something solid so you could have that information. So by Friday, you should have something in our website.
That's a key point. When we have something solid, something that obviously whoever is in the process of thinking or very close to finalize the deal, obviously everyone wants to know like the situation, how it's going to happen in the near future. Because I understand those ones who want to invest, but what if tomorrow, what if these days is rejected and at the end is not? So they will not have the urgency to invest and they could do it with more passion and more, more relaxed in order to choose. But obviously, let's whatever happens in the following days, we will try to inform and speak about it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Pedro, for your time. I know you're very busy and you made the time to make it here today. Rafael, exactly the same to you. Thank you for providing us good information, accurate information. Story is only taking 1 hour of a time, but it's very accurate, very direct, very dynamic, straight to the point. And if we're missing any information from you, please send us an email. Rush hour. We need to do as soon as possible if you really want to go for it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pass over to Juanfran, and then hopefully we'll either talk to you direct. Hopefully, as Christian says, we'll keep our finger crossed for tomorrow, and then you'll have more time. But don't feel. I mean, we could always discuss, Christian, any other possibilities from an immigration point of view, from the tax planning point of view. In our office, we can help you with that. And obviously, buying a property in Spain, the conveyancing side for those of you who are in process to comply with Golden Visa, we're more than comfortable. But yes, we'll keep you informed in our website. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, Carmen, even though you're hitting there in the audience. And over to you, Juanfran. Merry Christmas.
You're new to Spain and in need of legal help. When you're in a country that is foreign to you, you want someone who speaks your language, who understands you, and who will have an answer to all immigration and nationality matters. At Pellicer and Heredia, you can count on a specialist in international law and a multidisciplinary team that can help you handle all the necessary formalities. Do you want to take advantage of the Golden Visa program? We will help you obtain the residence visa for investors through the purchase of a property or via a business project that you're looking to develop in Spain. Do you need a residence permit? Obtain it for non-profit purposes or through family, work, study, research and training purposes. If, on the other hand, what you are looking for is a renewal, we take care of the whole process, so all you need to do is leave your fingerprint. We also deal with re-entry permits in the case that you want to leave and return to Spain. And of course, we help you obtain the certificate of registration as a European citizen, the foreigner's identity number, Spanish citizenship, and the certified translation of documents in all languages. Because at Pellicer and Heredia, we know that speaking your language is the only way to gain your confidence. Trust that we repay with 2 words: professionalism and commitment. Pellicer and Heredia, international lawyers.